Hi, I'm Chris McDonough. I'm senior producer for the World of Darkness game for CCP. Well, the Vampire PC games were a great milestone for White Wolf. It was a good partnership that we had with Activision, and we felt like there were some really good quality games. It was nice to be able to work on the development teams with those, and really had a good working relationship with them. And we felt like especially Bloodlines did a really good job of conveying our brand and getting it across, despite the obvious flaws on release. Absolutely. We frequently look at Bloodlines when we're designing the MMO and just use it for inspiration on, certainly how some of the things there were handled. And at least if we don't use it for inspiration, we use it for a common frame of reference when we're discussing a lot of things. The challenges involved in turning a pen and paper game into an online MMO they're varied. Certainly, pen and paper games are really well suited for MMOs. What you fundamentally have is something that's not about a particular character. So if you go with a licensed property, Spider-Man or Indiana Jones or whatever, everybody basically wants to be Spider-Man or Indiana Jones. But in something that's a pen and paper RPG, it's always been about your character. And so those characters, it's very easy for the world setting to take over, which is fundamentally what you want, and for the characters to take the spotlight, your personal characters, rather than you desiring to play a specific character. So that lends itself really well to it. Challenges, there's a lot of depth and a lot of story and story elements that they're controlled by a player, that the storyteller in this case, and that's very difficult to replicate in a game. The depth of having a human being there to make those decisions versus the kinds of decisions that you can get with an AI are very, very different. That's one of the reasons why we put a lot of focus on player-to-player interactivity and let them play in sort of a sandbox and spawn gameplay for each other. So bringing over Eve to the World of Darkness has been a fairly natural process for us. The back-end technology is the same. It's a shared technology. As a matter of fact, our World of Darkness team has been able to contribute quite a bit back to Eve Online. We've given back a lot of behind-the-scenes systems, tech art tools, and translation tools, and just a whole host of things that we've been building for the World of Darkness game. So it's been a pretty good collaboration between the offices. It's difficult to build shared technology, and it takes time, but we really want to establish a strong code base. And of course, we've had the opportunity to get that technology from Eve. That's been wonderful. The single shard technology, as well as networking and graphics rendering systems that are shared with them. Yeah, our staff on World of Darkness is a pretty diverse group. We've definitely brought over some people from the pen and paper side, but we've also really looked to hire a AAA staff. We've got people from virtually every game company in the country and other countries as well, and they've worked on all kinds of AAA titles, from The Sims to EverQuest to Star Wars to Drake's Fortune and Assassin's Creed, and we've got people from all kinds of AAA games, and it's worked really well to help us build a diverse base of talent that can make a fantastic game. With the World of Darkness, we chose to focus on vampires alone. We felt like if we did a larger group of supernatural creatures that are covered in our setting, that we would end up with a shallow experience, and we really wanted to delve deep into the politics and the backstabbing and all the other things that go on between vampires. It's a big part of what makes for a great social environment between players versus playing against the environment, and so we wanted to put our focus there, build a game that was just full of depth, and then we would expand later to encapsulate those other types. So for someone who doesn't know anything about vampires, I would say that the most important thing to know is the title, Vampire the Masquerade. The Masquerade it's a part of a set of rules that vampires live by, and the first one being that you don't let the public know that you exist. If they know you exist, they would come kill you, and this is something that's happened in their past, so they've started to learn to hide. And that means within the game, within the actual MMO, we enforce that. So vampires who use their vampiric powers in public places are frequently or are chastised by the powers that be. And so what we want to try to do is create a world that when you're playing looks completely normal, and when you go behind the scenes it's filled with powerful creatures struggling for control of the city. So does Eve Online have a hard learning curve, a steep learning curve? There's probably a nice famous cartoon you can find on the internet about that. But we're trying for something a little bit more casual than that. What we're trying to do actually is ramp players through a more basic experience and then lead them to that as the high-level gameplay, sort of the end game. I mean, the end game ultimately becomes politics and teamwork between you and other players, but there's definitely other elements there that draw you into that. So I absolutely think that one of the things that sets World of Darkness apart from other games is the fact that it's a modern day game. You've got a lot of sci-fi games and you've got a lot of fantasy games, but there's really none that takes place in the actual modern world, and it's nice. You know, we call it your world but darker, and understanding the way that the world works, you know, isn't a hurdle or something that you have to learn when you enter the game. It's a natural extension of what you know of the real world, and that makes it a lot easier to get into the gameplay.